consciousness all around the world. And here he is stopping, show this little boy how to fold his chadar for him. And then he did it. And I knew how to do it from then on. But I realized, whatever I know, good, whatever I know good in it, it's because he told me. He showed me what to do. And he told me. Usually he just showed me. You just had to watch him. And you always knew what to do. He never wasted a moment. So one of the things he said, I said there was one thing Prabhupada hated. I looked up hate, Vaishnavas. What are Vaishnavas? We love everyone. Want to make the whole world Krishna conscious. And take the karma. Pure devotee wants to take the karma of the entire universe so they can all go back to Godhead. But Prabhupada hated one thing. I already forgot what it was. I know what it is. What is it he hated? What is the one thing that prevents you, to some degree, from doing service? Sleeping. He hated sleep. He told me right before he took a nap after lunch in Mayapur. He sat on the bed. Prabhupada outside, to me, if he wasn't on the Vyasasana on his morning walk, if he wasn't answering letters, if he wasn't sitting with his temple presidents, GBCs, instructing, doing a darshan, giving instruction, when all that was gone, to me, he was like a young boy. He was like a child. He had the innocence of a child. He had that feel good. Sometimes you see children. At least I know as a grandparent, and now I'm a great-grandparent. I have a great-grandson. It's over 1 year old. And soon I'll have another great-grandchild. So you see the innocence of young children. It's so pleasing. When you hear the laughter, children laughing, it's very pleasing. Because you hear that. You can hear just their innocent joy, their happiness. That's what I saw in Prabhupada. He was childlike. He was very innocent. There was simplicity, despite everything that he was doing, traveling around the world, opening temples, making devotees, training them. He was very simple. He was a devotee of Krishna. Just loved Krishna. And particularly in the afternoon, that was his free time. After that nap, he said, I hate sleep. He said, it's just a waste of time. So that's what he hated. And then after he said it, he just laid down and pulled the sheet over his head, just like a little boy, just like a youngster, He hated it, but it was fine. He had to take rest, and then he took rest. It was always just that ability that he would say one thing that was so striking, and then you could see him just do something very different at the same time. Because all these qualities were there. His service, ISKCON was his service, preaching, translating, giving in English, that was his service. As a devotee, he would read his books. He would do bhajan in the afternoon. I learned after some months. It didn't happen every day, but sometimes I would be in the servant quarters and you could hear the harmonium. He would just be sitting on the floor by himself, playing harmonium, chanting. So then I would go in, offer obeisances, and I'd just sit there. That was he's, go ahead, get the cartels. You can play cartels. And then I'd play cartels. And he'd chant. I didn't even know what he was saying. I didn't know all these bhajans at this time. But I just knew this was the place to be. In the manor one time after he finished, he said, Prabhupada, I said, you don't chant like anyone else. I said, no one chants like you. Look, he said, I have my own style. And he did. We all do. We're all individuals. But his style was very, very wonderful. So I was saying, getting ready for the walk, how every moment was important. every second. There was no. We see Prabhupada, particularly in his letters, you'll see he uses the term most important. And we very often confuse that, because you would see in his letters, Satsrup Maharaj wrote him once. He was doing the library party, distributing whole sets of books, which you didn't do so many that way. You could do more just being on the street, selling books. And that's what they were doing in the Radha Damodar party. So we wrote Prabhupada, should I join the Radha Damodar party? He said, because he read, Prabhupada says, most important. Distributing my books is most important. But then he wrote him back and he said, yes, it is. He said, but also the deity worship is most important. Everything we do, it's most important. There's no less important. In Juhu, one morning, this was before the temple was there, so he was staying in a flat. It was on the second story, third story if you're from USA. So he was on that flat, and he would come down the stairs for the morning walk. So everyone knew Prabhupada was, you could set your watch to what he did. Comes down, comes outside, there's about this many devotees there. It was 1974. So everyone offers obeisances. But there was a young devotee, he was an Indian-bodied devotee. He stood there very reverentially, just stared at Prabhupada. And Prabhupada just kept walking, and he just glanced at me. He said, that is the beginning of his fall down. Imagine. One thing. He said, that's the beginning of his fall down. Just not thinking, not conscious. Here's pure devotee of the Lord. To speak of, he's your spiritual master. And Shaktavasavatar, put it like this. So we have to be very cautious in our Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada would sit there in the morning right before the walk. New Dwarka was one of the typical places. Everything was very organized. And so sometimes you'd have 4 or 5 devotees. They would come into the room. They would get Prabhupada's darshan before the morning walk. So I'd let them into the room. Again, Prabhupada, he had his tilak set. So the tilak set consisted of a little katuri. Katuri means bowl. With the tilak, ball of chandan in it. This ball was generally the size of a golf ball and fairly round, very round. He would make it very, very round. So in that bowl was his tilak. So next to that there was a small lota, which was also about the size of a golf ball, and it had a little lid for the lota. And there was a little spoon. So that was there. So all this I would have set up on the desk. When he went and used the bathroom, my service was pay attention, know what's coming next. Because he told me, he said, first class personal servant. He does things without being asked. That's consciousness. And for us, that's Krishna, that's Guru consciousness. You should know. Every day he's doing the same thing. So before him, you're preparing everything. So he'd be in the bathroom before lunch. And I put his kopin on the bed, put his dhoti on the bed, I put his kurta on the bed. I buttoned 2 buttons on the kurta, because that was 2 less buttons. He had the button, and his head fit in through the kurta. So all these things, it was just taking care. Learning how one would be if you love someone. This was the training. This is how he was training. He didn't tell me, he didn't nag me, as we would say, every day. You should know this, you should know. It was never like that. But he would give you a little hint. First class servant, he does without being asked. He said the second class servant, you ask him and he does it. The third class servant either doesn't do it, or he said he does it begrudgingly. I always loved Prabhupada's English. His words were so captured. They could capture so much of what he wanted to say. He didn't just use your everyday words you see over and over and over. They were very well chosen. So he said he does it begrudgingly. So that was the thing, is to know. We should always know what to do. Prabhupada, I was with him on morning walks for 2.5 years. He never stumbled over a rock because he wasn't paying attention. When he walked with his head straight, looking forward. He walked. He had the unique ability to look like he was royalty and be very humble at the same time. In both things. You'd see him before the deity, standing there, but then doing dandavats, but so carefully as well. Everything he did looked perfect. So they could come into the room, and maybe they'd get to see him.